I am Melissa Fulton, the CEO of the Lake County Chamber, and the Chamber is very pleased to be able to bring this candidate forum to you. I'd like to acknowledge the Chamber directors who are in the audience. You just met Joe Castile, our president. Behind him is Chuck Saberna. Raise your hand, Chuck. Thank you. In the back row, on the left side, my left, Lisa Wilson, another one of our directors, Jeff Warrenberg guarding the door, and Bobby Dutcher right here. And we appreciate this opportunity. And a little bit of housekeeping, the restrooms are straight out that door. Okay, I have to have a script because otherwise I'd forget. As I mentioned earlier, we have received quite a few questions from the public at large via email. And those have been incorporated as best we could into the 19 questions we have this evening. So we already have quite a list. And what we tried to do was incorporate many questions into as many of the public questions into as few topics as possible. We do have cards up here, and if anyone in the audience would like to print out a question, please hand that question to either Jeff or Bobby, and they will vet it and make sure that we don't already have the question on our list. The way we run the forum is that prior to beginning this evening, the four candidates chose a number between 1 and 30, and Kevin, on my left, came up with the number closest to the one I had pre-chosen, so we will start our introductions, or our introductory speeches, 2 minutes each, with Kevin. And at this time, we have Kevin Ahajanian, we have Bill Kearney, Jessica Pyska, and Lily Woll. They are our candidates for this evening. So at this time, we would like to begin with Kevin I need to explain our timing process. Jackie in the front row has 2 colored sheets of paper. A yellow sheet will indicate that the candidate has 30 seconds left, and the red sheet says time's up. And we try to be as fair as we can with everyone, so we need to respect everyone's time. Thank you very much. Kevin, would you care to begin?
Hello, and welcome. My name is Kevin Ahajanian, and I am running for Lake County's District 5 Supervisor with the purpose of adhering and supporting the United States Constitution as it was written. I also support sound policy and environmental actions, fire protection, and vegetation abatement. I also choose to promote sound business growth to bring economic development to the county, work with existing law enforcement to support the changes necessary to bring about responsible growth for the cannabis industry. Also to apply federal responsibility as outlined in the United States Constitution for jurisdiction in immigration matters. And lastly, I'm running my campaign self-funded to keep big money donors and political consultants out of local politics by example. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Kearney.
My name is Bill Kearney. Of course, as a local pharmacist for nearly 40 years, I've helped thousands of seniors and families get affordable medication. This commitment to helping others is the reason I want to serve as your county supervisor. Lake County is facing serious challenges, including a lack of local jobs, unacceptable power shortages, and excessive fire insurance costs. We can't afford business as usual any longer, and as your supervisor, my priorities will include supporting our quality of life. I will preserve what's best about Lake County while bringing new jobs and revenue-generating businesses to our community. Protecting residents, I will stand up to PG&E. The people of Lake County should have not had our power shut off because of its utility company's mismanagement. Helping the homeless, I'll work with nonprofits to try to secure more mental health, addiction treatment, and transitional housing that resources need to provide for the homeless. And 4 decades of community service that I provide as a United States Army veteran, small business owner, past president of the Lake County Chamber of Commerce, past president of Sutter Lakeside Hospital, and I host a weekly radio show for the last 30 years. I ask for your vote to bring a citizen's voice with experience to the Lake County Board of Supervisors. Thank you.
Jessica.
I'm Jessica Pyska. I grew up in Lake County. I grew up in Cobb, went through the Middletown School District, went to UC Santa Cruz, got my bachelor degree, and then worked in commercial real estate in San Francisco for many years. I worked with a company that bought and sold commercial and industrial properties, did asset management for an investor base. I came back to Lake County to take care of my mom while she was dying, and after she passed away, I realized that this is my home and I needed to be here, and this is where we wanted to start our family. So we moved back in 2005, and we've had my husband and I have a software consulting business that we run out of our home. I've worked in the wine industry in the Mort Family Tasting Room for 7 years. I've been the garden teacher at Cobb Elementary for 5 years. Since I lost my home in the Valley Fire, I've been doing long-term recovery and economic development in the Cobb area. I'm a founding member of the Cobb Area Council, which is a municipal advisory council appointed by the Board of Supervisors. I'm serving my second term. And the programs that we have developed in the Cobb area based on our experiences from the fire have been really successful. And what I want to do is bring those programs to the rest of District 5 and the county. And thank you to the Chamber for allowing us to have this forum.
Lily.
Hello. Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. Lake County is my home. I was raised here, and I cannot go anywhere without running into somebody that I have known for my whole life. Hey, Mom. From the family service business and Walnut Farm to the bottling line at a winery, or in the food industry as a dishwasher and a waitress, as a teenager, I experienced working in nearly every sector of Lake County service and agricultural economies. Before I went to college at 18, I received my GED at the local jail here in Lake County because that was the only place to get my degree at the time. I worked and paid my own way through community college and university in New York City. I returned to Lake County debt-free. I came home with big city experience and education to discover that I can make the most difference here at home in Lake County. After working in social services, tribal health, and the entire educational arena of Lake County, I have come to realize that I can provide my best service to the community in county government. Es un honor representar, apoyar y abogar por nuestra comunidad diversa del Quinto Distrito. It is my honor to work here. Thank you.
Okay, we will begin the questioning with Kevin. 15% of total parcels in the county have a tax delinquency totaling $18.3 million due to the county and various special districts. This problem is particularly bad in the city of Clear Lake, with 25% delinquent properties and over 2,000 properties eligible for sale. What should the Board of Supervisors be doing to address this problem?
Well, the libertarian in me gets really sad when we talk about property abatement and confiscation. However, we all pay property taxes. It isn't fair that people get to skate. It isn't fair that they get to skip payment after payment without some sort of penalty. And I've attended a few Board of Supervisors meetings, and I've always wondered, okay, if we have a problem with said property that hasn't paid its property taxes in a year, why aren't we doing something about it? If anything, maybe taking them to court, something. I have no idea per se about specifics, but something has to be done. And you can pass ordinances with teeth. If people don't have the money to pay, I don't want to see them forfeit their property, but at the same token, I don't know what else to do. Does that make sense?
Bill Kearney?
I've read a little bit about this. Is it Barbara Ringen, that is responsible for helping get some funding out of those 25% of Clear Lake. I understand the city of Clear Lake is working with her to try to expedite that as much as possible. I don't know how successful that has been, and I don't know what the other alternative is, but I understand the Board of Supervisors is also working with her. I was out of the country for a while, and I read about some issues that were going on with collecting. I think we have to get that funding into the county fund somehow, and whatever we can do to put pressure on getting the equity out of those properties into the Lake County's purse is something that we have to work with. I don't know if there's another venue other than to sell those properties now and put some pressure on. I know that the effort is being expedited in order to get those funds to the county, but whether or not there's, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't tell you I was colorblind, Jackie, I'm sorry.
Lily, or pardon me, Jessica.
This is a financial crisis for the cities and the counties, and we have to work together. We have to collaborate on every level and support each other in every way, and everything has to be on the table to get this done immediately. We have to have more tax sales, more properties twice a year. It has to happen.
Property taxes are the county's direct income revenue. The houses that are long overdue and do not have residents living in them must be sold and auctioned off. We don't need derelict and abandoned houses around. But the county has to be supplied the right tools and workforce necessary to sell these homes. And on the other hand, the issue of homelessness, people may live in those houses. They haven't paid their taxes, but that may increase the homelessness in the county by throwing them out. But we need that tax revenue. And it's important that we do whatever we can to sell them and auction them off. Thank you.
Okay, question number 2, Bill Kearney begins with this one. Many homeowners in Districts 4 and 5 have recently received non-renewal notices on their homeowner policies and/or had their premiums increased dramatically. A major reason stated is that the homes are located outside a 5-mile radius from a fire station. How would you propose working with the District 4 supervisor to create and lead a forum to explore options to create a fire station within a 5-mile radius?
Well, I think that has to be done. I live in an area in Buckingham that's facing that very problem, and if someone sells their property, their fire insurance for someone to purchase that property has gone up $12,000 to $16,000 because of where we live. I'm on the Buckingham Homeowners Association. I've worked on abatements for 4 or 5 years, and we are working with the fire department and CAL FIRE to try to get some pressure put on the insurance industry to not be able to do that when we sell. So we're working on it, and hopefully the county will have some success.
Jessica.
Having a fire station there would be great. It would be great for everybody. I don't think the building itself isn't the problem. It's how we figure out how to staff it, and I don't know if that's through a special assessment. But I'm not 100% sure that a firehouse in that area is going to solve the insurance problems. We have them all over the place. I've been working really closely with Mike McGuire's office to talk about insurance issues. He is co-chairing a working group dealing with the fire insurance crisis, and I was just able to get the Cobb area zip code included in the mandatory moratorium, and we just have to keep working with our state legislators.
Thank you. Lily.
So we'd have to be creative about this idea because the insurance companies really aren't on the same page when they do the non-renewals of insurance. And one idea could possibly be increasing the volunteer fire stations, if that is in fact the reason why insurances are not continued. On the other hand, The Board of Supervisors have to work closely with the state and federal government, and especially Ricardo Lara. He's the California Insurance Commissioner who sent the information about the moratorium and the list of different zip codes that are now are on that list of the moratorium. So it's definitely a creative way to work with it, and informing the residents of Lake County about what their options are, because that extra $1,000 could be the loss of a house. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
We voted ourselves a tax, an extra tax onto our property taxes, an extra $200 a year, everybody. In my opinion, there should be no reason why we are without a fire station in any of the neighborhoods, because that was the whole reason for it. But moving on, in my opinion, the insurance problem really does lie with the state due to the fact that they were the ones who waited till about December when everyone renewed to pass the law saying you can't bail. And it was a little bit too little, too late.
Thank you. Question number 3, and this goes to Jessica first. How do you see the Board of Supervisors assisting law enforcement to do more to prosecute reckless arson and prevent fires in Lake County?
The supervisors can support the sheriff's department in any way that they need. We have to get them more funding so that they can have more officers and retain those officers. The bigger the force that we have, the more effective that they will be.
I think law enforcement has been doing a wonderful job with the resources that they have been given. I also believe that nobody wants to catch and prosecute arsonists more than our local law enforcement agencies. I hope to work as a supervisor, work closely with the sheriff's department and the city law enforcement and provide whatever additional resources are necessary to be able to control this.
Thank you. Kevin?
Thank you.
We need to prioritize our first responders. It's the top priority of the social contract to every property owner, to every citizen, to anyone who exchanges a dollar for anything. I'll pass on that.
Bill?
I think that we have done a fairly good job in our area. We had a fire in August in the Buckingham area, and they were there immediately. If CAL FIRE hadn't have been there and our local fire departments, we would have had a disaster in Buckingham and probably Riviera West and Riviera Heights, and it would have gone over the hill from there. So I think our priorities are right in taking care of, and Supervisor Brown has been very effective in working with the people in Buckingham and the Rivieras, all three of them, to get accessibility. We have one way in and one way out, so when we have a fire, we have to take care of it right away.
Thank you. Question number 4, and this will be Lily going first. It's been said that Lake County is not a county that embraces new business. As a supervisor, what do you feel would be your role in attracting business to the county, as well as providing a more streamlined process for local entrepreneurs to start and grow businesses?
So I think first and foremost, we need to fix the government by improving the county workforce, strengthen the government efficiencies by filling the employment vacancy rate, the retention, training, and especially the work culture. By doing this, the current businesses can receive the permits necessary to expand. And of course, we have to support shopping locally, improve local advertisement and websites, develop area plans that are relevant in the 21st century and that support the strengthening of the infrastructure. Infrastructure includes improving reliable internet and maybe even a Latino Chamber of Commerce. Thank you.
Kevin?
The role of government, as far as the private sector is concerned, should be to get out of the way within a reasonable frame. Allowing business to come here, taking that attitude is step one. Step two would be to possibly consider a measure allowing certain types of businesses out of certain people's homes. The path to self-employment, encouraging entrepreneurship, not discouraging it.
Thank you. Bill?
Well, I'm not sure where the problem is with the permitting or the cost of the permits, or I've heard good things about the planning department, that doesn't appear to be a problem as it did in the past. I would like to see it accelerated as much as possible, and I'm one that believes less government is better government, but somehow we have to continue to grow. I think the tech industry is a great place to do that, and there are people that are working out of their homes in the high-tech industry. I think we have to recruit those kind of people here.
Thank you. Question number 5 ties into question...
What about me?
Oh, I'm sorry. See, I lost track.
So we need the permitting process to be clear and consistent from beginning to end. So businesses feel comfortable coming to our county. But we have to provide the infrastructure. We have to have reliable broadband, and we have to have water and sewer for businesses where they want to develop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Kevin is next, and this ties right into number 4, as I started to say. What policy changes could or should be made to streamline the use permit process?
I believe that would be lying with personnel from what I'm understanding right now. We have personnel problems all over the county offices. And if you read this morning's Record B, you might want to consult that article is all I'm going to say.
Bill?
Well, I think we're on the right track. I think part of the problem with the broadband, and I've heard that is developing into not a problem, is getting people to do the installation of the broadband. We're always going to have a problem up in Cobb because of the trees when it comes to that sort of thing. I think we're on the right path. I just think we have some educating to do to the public and educating to do to the broadband company that says we have to get it done now. So.
Thank you. Jessica?
So the question again,
What policy changes could or should be made to streamline the use permit process?
so the use permit process needs to start with pre-planning, and all the stakeholders are at the table. And everyone has a consensus on how the process is going to unfold. And that process needs to stay consistent. And the expectations need to be set at the very beginning with no changing around. And then start to finish, consistent process, that's the most important part. And then we'll start to have a great reputation, and businesses are going to want to come here.
Thank you. Lily?
So when you talk about streamline permits and use permits, we have to keep in mind the balance, right? We have to, the balance and the needs and wants of the community and our desire for economic development. It's the county's responsibility to safeguard our resources, people, and our traditions. But we also need to work with new businesses and the businesses here in helping them strengthen with economic development. The county does have a responsibility to get permits out in a timely manner. However, the county should also have the opportunity to work with people because permits are different. People's plans are different. We have to be creative in how we can give people permits in a way that protects the people and our traditions and our way of life here in Lake County. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is number 6, and Bill goes first on this. What do you see as areas for improvement in Lake County government?
Well, I think we need a new county administrator, I'm sorry. But I think that is an issue that has to be addressed. We have to have somebody that's pro-business that's going to support small businesses as well as large businesses. We have to be more aggressive in getting those kind of businesses into Lake County. But I think it starts at the top, and we have to have the support of the county administrator in order to progress.
Thank you. Jessica?
In a perfect world, I would give way more support to the Community Development Department. They are handling all of building, all of planning, all of code enforcement, which also handles cannabis. And they're understaffed. I think they really need more support. And if we're going to be attracting more businesses and building more homes and doing the things that are going to rev up our economy, then that department needs more support.
Thank you. Lily?
Yeah, I got to play off of that one, definitely. And I believe everyone in this room will have different issues. But when it comes down to it, the government is the hub for all the services provided in the county. And we have to strengthen and fill the vacancy rates here in Lake County. And that happens by improving the work culture and responding to the classification and compensation study. Everybody wants to feel happy and supported in their job. Most importantly, that will be done by improving the work culture. Thank you.
Kevin?
Can we ask the question again, please?
Certainly. What do you see as areas, areas for improvement in Lake County government?
Well, I did mention the Lake County Record B article, and then Bill beat me to the punch with a specific. Not going to argue. Moving on, once you take care, you examine that situation and take care of it, you start to look at some department heads and see about efficiency and how things work. Make some changes necessary, support those still doing a good job. Moving forward, it does always boil down to the role of government. A lot of times we just need to get out of the way of business. Thanks.
Thank you. Question number 7, and Jessica goes first on this. Have you or your family ever created private sector jobs in Lake County? How has that experience affected you?
The company that we have doesn't have local employees, but what I have done is organize a volunteer base in the Cobb area, and with these volunteers, we have been able to accomplish so much over the past 4 years and put on quite a few events, including the Blackberry Cobbler Festival that we put on last summer. And so working with and empowering volunteers to be a part of their community has been a huge part of my life.
Thank you. Lily?
Will you repeat the question, please?
Have you or your family ever created private sector jobs in Lake County? How has that experience affected you?
Yes, I was raised in the business of, Roto-Rooter. I won't get into details there, but my parents owned Lake County, Roto-Rooter of Lake County for 40 years, my entire life growing up, and I saw the inner workings of a small business, and also through the walnut farm that we had, and I saw it there. And being married to a ag worker, he finds work everywhere. So there's lots of work out there in the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
The answer is no. I did try to buy the Village Pub on Cobb, but a certain septic problem prevented anyone from buying that business.
Okay. Bill?
I was very successful in the private sector in hiring all my employees locally, and most of them stayed on when I sold the pharmacies. I tried to create a family atmosphere there, and I tried to get everybody tuned in to being part of the family, and to recognize the customers when they walked in the door, even though they were ill and needed medications. It was important for me to have the employee feel that family closeness too, and we were very successful in doing that.
Thank you. Question number 8, Lily goes first. Candidates for District 5 come from 3 distinct neighborhoods, Cobb, Big Valley, and Buckingham Riviera. All 3 have different demographics, issues, and concerns. How will you be able to represent the vast majority of District 5 residents?
So we have similar concerns: fire, infrastructure, the issues with insurance, the rising cost of living, stagnant wages, access to goods and services, the roads. But also, Kelseyville is 40% Latino, nearly, and that was in 2010, this census. So it only helps to be able to be bilingual and talk to that entire group of people and be able to communicate with them. But I plan to go to many, many meetings. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Kevin.
Repeat the question again. Sorry.
Yes. Candidates for District 5 come from 3 distinct neighborhoods, Cobb, Big Valley, and Buckingham Riviera. All 3 have different demographics, issues, and concerns. How will you be able to represent the vast majority of District 5 residents?
Simple. They're not even within a half hour of each other, and they're actually not that different. Everybody has a problem with fire. Everybody has about an acre plus and land management issues to deal with in all areas of the district. And the issues, to me, are the same. They're not that far apart at all.
Thank you. Bill.
Well, I think in District 5, we've been very fortunate to have Rob Brown. I don't know that I'd want my phone number to be dialed up as many times a day as Rob's is, and he always answers, and he's always there. That's one of the things that I respect in this position, and I know it's a hardship, and it didn't make any difference where it was. Rob was there. I'm prepared to make that same commitment. I think it's important to be able to touch base with your supervisor and have some insight into what's going to occur when you do get in touch with them, and that's what I'm going for as a goal as a supervisor for District Number 5.
Thank you. Jessica.
I think we are more alike than regional differences. We all have the concerns about fire and fire insurance and clean water and roads and the health of our lake and the health of our economy. And all of those things I have already been working on in the Cobb area and with different committees with the supervisors. So I don't think it's any different. We all have the same goals, we all have the same needs, and it's always most important to remember that we have more in common with each other than not.
Thank you. Question number 9, Kevin goes first on this one. Many District 5 residents may be ineligible to vote due to immigration status. Do you feel it is the supervisor's responsibility to represent those residents?
Flat out, no, they're not citizens of our nation. You need to be a citizen in order to vote. It's that simple. And to back it up, I've heard nothing but complaints about foreign intervention in our elections for the past 2 years. Let's practice what we preach.
Bill?
I agree on this situation. You're either an illegal alien or you're a legal person to vote. And I have friends that can't vote, and it disturbs me because they're good people. But they need to go through the path of citizenship and be required to do what everybody else has to do to become a citizen of the United States. So I'm not prepared to cloud that up any by making it easier. They have to do the same thing that anybody has to do to be a legal resident of the United States.
Jessica?
This is a federal issue and should never come before the county government.
Okay. Number 10.
Oh, hey.
Sorry. I messed up my numbers again.
Excuse me, pardon me.
Sorry.
Undocumented residents of this county don't have an actual pathway to becoming an immigrant, to getting their papers. The money that they put into this economy and support the backbone of this, the agriculture is huge. And because they're residents and they support this county in ways that we'll never understand and what they have to go through. So yes, they need to be supported. And at the same time, there's people that are citizens and they don't vote. Thank you.
Okay. Now, number 10. Bill goes first on this one. Some view the political climate these days as polarized, whether due to personal bias or political affiliation. How do you see your current affiliations with various organizations aiding or inhibiting your ability to work with the other supervisors and the constituents in your district?
I don't think this is a local issue at all that polarizes us. I think if you're narrow-minded and you don't look at the big picture, it shouldn't affect county government. It shouldn't affect what we're doing as a Board of Supervisors. We have a responsibility in sitting in these chairs to manage this county. That's our job, with help from the rest of the administrative people. But it shouldn't polarize us to not be able to do our job locally at all.
Thank you. Jessica?
It is the job of the supervisors to focus on local issues. And it's important to remember always what we have in common. We all love our families. We all care about our economy. We all care about our lake. And keep the focus on what we have in common and what we need to fix at the local issue. I have endorsers all across the board from all different sorts of backgrounds because I always look to collaborate. And that is the most important thing right now. As a nation, we've gotten polarized, but we have a job to do and we have to collaborate and respect each other.
Thank you. Lily?
Excuse me, everyone, and Melissa, will you please repeat the question?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Some view the political climate these days as polarized, whether due to personal bias or political affiliation. How do you see your current affiliations with various organizations aiding or inhibiting your ability to work with the other supervisors and the constituents in your district?
I thank the God, Creator, whoever put this together, that this is a nonpartisan campaign, and thank you for that. I think that there's only so many people living in this county, and we have to band together to be able to solve any issues. We have to work together, and we can't let anything stop us, because there's a lot that we need to improve. Thank you.
Kevin?
I don't have a problem working with the left as long as they can gracefully accept the term no. Mic drop.
Question number 11. And Jessica goes first on this one. And we had a question from the audience, so I'm going to incorporate that and sort of paraphrase on the same topic. In reference to the county's cannabis ordinance, what specific changes would you suggest being made if you are elected? And then from the audience came the continuing topic of offensive odors from neighboring properties. And what would you do to assist with that issue?
So the voters have approved cannabis in California, And it's the job of the supervisors to make sure that we handle it in the best way that we can so that our economy can benefit and we can still do it with a very high standard for safety and avoid nuisance. We can adopt the state regulations, which were a little bit less stringent. That would help the growers that have invested in our county. And the setbacks are really important. I think that's more for hemp. Hemp this last year had a lot more smell nuisance. So incorporating the setbacks that the ad hoc committee is going to be recommending would really be helpful.
Thank you. Lily?
So marijuana is new. Not new, but it's legally new, right? And people are afraid of it. They're afraid of it because it's just recently been legalized, and they're afraid for their children and what it could do and so on. And they don't, and we're now saying there could be an economic boom. And it could definitely help the county. So I think we need to, our county has a good ordinance right now that is in line with the state, and the hemp has to be regulated in a way that is not in people's faces but doesn't cause issues with the cannabis growers. Thank you.
Kevin?
I'm a pro-cannabis Republican, a rare breed, one of those. And I'm a firm believer that hemp and cannabis are the same plant. I believe restrictions on one need to come up and restrictions on one need to come down. We need to make it easier for our growers to grow the same plant and allow them to coexist with each other. And if it means small government intervention to talk about indoor seed germination as opposed to outdoor, then so be it. But at the end of the day, it's a burgeoning industry. I stayed at a bed and breakfast in Humboldt. There's things going on in another county that aren't happening here, and we could bring tourism.
Bill?
Being a pharmacist, cannabis has been a Schedule I drug all my life. I had to adapt when it became legalized in California. I think it needs control, and I think it's a drug. It's not strictly a medication. And I think it's used more for recreational than it is for medicine. And I think we've been fairly consistent when addressed about an odor from the marijuana of keeping it down until last year. Last year it seemed to get out of line a little bit. I think there were just far more of it than we thought about in the past. I think we need to continue to consider others when it comes to that. I have patients that can't even breathe when they smell marijuana because they're addicted to a drug of some kind and they're in rehab now. So,
Thank you. Question number 12, and Lily goes first on this one. As a rural community with limited work opportunities, the county has suffered from a continuous brain drain as our youth move out of the area after high school in search of further education and work. What kinds of initiatives do you see creating more opportunity for entrepreneurships to attract and retain the youth?
Well, this is exciting. Just recently, Mendocino College received $1 million from to bolster their construction program. So the education and the sport has to start from the K through 12 and into the college where there's opportunity for an education and then the direct. And as a supervisor, I can facilitate that type of connection between the business and the education. So when the student graduates from high school, they can go into a program that supports them and gets them into a well-paid job and has them stay in Lake County. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Well, I don't know if it's the job of government to tell a young person to stay put. I didn't do that. I couldn't wait to get out of my small town, and I went a bunch of different places.
Welcome back.
So, as much as we would like to kind of retain our workforce, if we don't have the work for them just at this present moment, I'm not going to stop any young person from gaining some experience somewhere else.
Bill?
Well, I don't think that in my business, I've been able to get people locally to step in and take over entrepreneurship and be successful business people in this county. I think we have to make that attractive enough that they want to stay here and want to be part of that. Yes, it's difficult. I was born and raised on a farm in Iowa. I mean, I didn't know anything except farming, and I went into pharmacy school, and I got out of pharmacy school, and I went to Chicago to work and start my career. So I don't think that necessarily we have to be the government has to be the impetus to get the people to stay. I think we as business owners have to create that kind of environment to make them want to do that.
Thank you. Jessica?
Education is definitely one of the options, and the new grant that Mendocino College just got is wonderful for creating the workforce. We have a lot of houses that we have to get built. We have New Paradigm College as well. But I think going out and seeing the world is important, and then come back, come home. Lily did that. I did that. Moak, Supervisor Simon, and Supervisor Crandall both grew up in Lake County and both came back. And so I think we just preserve the lifestyle that we have. We have the education options, and then we encourage people to come home after they've gone out and seen the world and gotten experience that they can put back into our communities.
Thank you. Question number 13, Kevin will go first. The Board of Supervisors oversees many departments, often dealing with employee matters, and they approve a final budget of several millions of dollars. Please describe what experience you have managing people and budgets.
I was an executive chef for many years, so managing other people's money was my job as well as managing personnel. The key word as far as management's concerned, oversight. And I can't stress that enough. Oversight, oversight, oversight. Lots of oversight.
Thank you. Bill?
Melissa, would you repeat the question?
Certainly. The Board of Supervisors oversees many departments, often dealing with employee matters, and they approve a final budget of several millions of dollars. Please describe what experience you have managing people and budgets.
Well, when you're in business for yourself, you have to do this. I worked for Walgreens for 15 years and was in 6 different states running the actual store, not just the pharmacy. So, and plus I was on the Sutter Hospital Board for 10 years, which budgeting over $30 million at a time was part of our job as being a board member. So that's not unusual to me. We had to, when I was a manager for Walgreens, we had to go through a P&L every month and look at it and report back to our regional manager and tell them where our inadequacies were and where our benefits were that we were managing those stores. So I think it's our responsibility.
Thank you. Jessica?
So when I worked in commercial real estate, we managed assets of tens of millions of dollars for investors. And so putting together those budgets was something that I was a part of, and reporting to the investors every quarter on growth. My husband and we bought an apartment building when I was 25 that I renovated and managed for many, many years. So that was my first budget that I solely developed. As far as managing people, I have been working with the volunteer base in the Cobb Area Council for 4 years. I also teach kindergarten through 6th graders. So there's some personalities for you.
Thank you. Lily?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I teach at Kelseyville High School, and I teach 120 teenagers every day with 5 different subjects. Woo, the lesson plans. But I also lived in New York for 6 years, and I got a degree there, and I came back on my own accord, and I don't owe a dime. I also did that to get 2 master's degrees at Sonoma State, so that's budgeting right there. I did grant training and management from Tribal Health. I lived in Mexico for 1.5 years, and I owned a store there where I managed people, the budget, every day. And it was helpful that I was culturally aware of the people I managed. That helped. And I managed an ESL and college preparedness program at Woodland Community College. Thank you.
Okay, question number 14, and Bill goes first on this one. What skill, area of knowledge, or expertise do you possess that you believe uniquely qualifies you to represent District 5 on the Board of Supervisors?
Well, I think the biggest thing is I've been in business here for 40 years. I've been involved in the Chamber of Commerce. I've been the president twice, as Mr. Castile knows what that feels like. And I've experienced many things along the way, just being in retail for the last 39 or 40 years. So nothing will give you more experience in dealing with the public than being in a retail environment, especially in a small town. So I think that more than qualifies me. So.
Thank you. Jessica.
I am the only candidate that has fire recovery and prevention experience, as well as has been through the rebuild process. I've been collaborating with supervisors and staff for the past 4 years. They can tell you about my experience and my commitment. I am always prepared, and I have been to every single board meeting since last July.
Thank you. Lily.
Will you repeat the question again, please?
Sure.
Thanks, Melissa.
What skill, area of knowledge, or expertise do you possess that you believe uniquely qualifies you to represent District 5 on the Board of Supervisors?
Well, I live in Kelseyville. It's hard to talk about myself, excuse me. But to uniquely, I think my ability to communicate. And right now, at this moment, with the people working in the county, we need to have that skill with the supervisors, that ability to communicate with not only the constituents and the people that live in District 5 in Lake County, and speak their same language, but be accessible and open and willing to work with people carefully and being able to speak their mind so that they feel comfortable in this workplace. We need to be able to hear them, and I plan to do just that. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin.
My qualification transcends any resume. It has to do with an idea, and it's the fact that we all, as citizens, live in a constitutional republic, not necessarily a mob-rule democracy. So I would say that it's the United States Constitution and how much I adhere to it that would make my number one qualification.
Thank you. Jessica goes first on this one. What is your vision for sustainable economic development for Lake County using specific examples?
Well, I applaud the Chamber for taking on the priorities in the Isla report, improving the airport and improving broadband. And those are really important improvements for our county and to attract business. The other thing that I've been working on is a microloan fund for small businesses. We're starting in the Cobb area, and for $2,500 to $7,500, a small business can get a loan for 2% for 5 years. Or 3 years. This is a revolving loan fund that I have plans to take to the rest of the county. Supporting our small businesses is really important for the sustainability of our economy.
Thank you. Lily.
So I believe the sustainable economic development starts with the government. I think we need to lower the vacancy rate of county employees, incentivize retention, and improve the work culture. It is the hub of the wheel of economic development. And anything that needs to be done with businesses or come here has to work with the county in being able to get it done. And also education, like the grant I mentioned earlier, and continue the support for tourism, but education after the county, strengthening the county, education can work as that wheel to promote tourism and to promote the career technical educations and everything in front. Thank you.
Kevin,
Can you repeat the question again, please?
what is your vision for sustainable economic development for Lake County using specific examples?
Well, first you have to define sustainable. And then what you have to do is ask yourself how much government can make a business sustainable and how much of that responsibility lies on the private sector. And from where I'm sitting, it's on the private sector mostly. So I think that the best thing for government to do would be to get out of the way.
Bill?
Well, I think that's a big problem in Lake County. It's a big problem in Lakeport. It doesn't seem to be such an issue in Kelseyville as it does in Lakeport, but we see empty buildings all the time in Lakeport. And some of that has to do with administrative responsibilities. A lot of it has to do with, we've had a lot of restaurants come and go in Lakeport, and it seems to be the one thing that doesn't make it here. And I think there's a lot of people that think they can operate in the food industry and be very successful. I used to have restaurants in all my Walgreens stores. That was one of the most difficult things to manage. You have to be very disciplined to be able to do that. And I think we need to be more selective when businesses open and be responsible as a Chamber of Commerce, too, to help these people.
Thank you. Question number 16. Excuse me. This lady needs some water, and I think there's another bottle over there. Thank you, Jackie. Question number 16. Lily goes first. Do you see being a supervisor as a full-time job? How many hours per year are you willing to promise to the voters that you will devote to working on their behalf?
Full and full time. I see myself working the 40 hours, of course, and evenings and weekends. And to me, I want to understand very clearly all the different facets of each ordinance or regulation that crosses my desk or my area, well, my desk. I will put in the time necessary and the weekends and in time of a crisis, I want to be there for the constituents. And like Kearney said, I want to have my phone available just like Rob Brown and say, yes, Lily Woll, how can I help you? Thank you very much. I want to be available. Thank you.
Okay, Kevin.
Well, I didn't know not responding to a crisis or any sort of situation that would come a county supervisor's way was even an option. Obviously, the job entails a lot. There's a lot of committees. There's a lot of phone calls that have to be answered, a lot of problems that arise. And yeah, I will commit to being there for every single one of them.
Thank you. Bill.
Well, that was one of the questions that many of my friends asked me when I decided to run for District 5 Supervisor was, are you crazy? You just retired, and I'm not very good at retirement. And I'm not sure my wife was on the same page as I was when I said that I want to do this. She is now. But it is a full-time job. I think anybody that thinks less than that is not going to be successful as a Board of Supervisor. And I don't think the rest of the board would be receptive to somebody only using this as a part-time job.
Thank you. Jessica.
This is a 4-year lifestyle job. Right, Supervisor Brown? So you can expect to have almost no privacy and no personal time unless you leave the county for a vacation. And that's my commitment. I will always be available.
Thank you. All right. Question number 17. Kevin goes first on this. The homeless crisis is well documented across the nation as well as in Lake County. What would be your plan to address this issue as a county supervisor?
The state enables, and there's only so much that somebody who is homeless is allowed to do. And whatever they're allowed to do, they're going to do. If we don't draw boundaries, you could have typhus in your backyard, like in Los Angeles last year. Just saying.
Okay. Bill?
You know, I didn't think we had a homelessness problem here, and while I was on vacation, I looked at what we reported were homeless last year, and it was in the hundreds. Now it's in the thousands. It's like 3,500 in this county. So it is a problem, and it became a problem rather quickly. I don't know if we just counted differently this time, but because we don't see them laying in the streets, when we live outside of the city, we don't think it's an issue. If you live next to City Hall, you know it's an issue. So it's something I didn't think we'd have to deal with at this county. We are going to have to deal with it. I don't know how right now. I don't know what it takes to help this part of the community, but we need to learn. And maybe we have to be more specific about who's homeless and who isn't. But they need help, and we need to help them.
Thank you. Jessica?
Last week, I volunteered to work at the point in time count, which counted homeless people. I was out in homeless encampments, counting people and having them fill out surveys on what services might benefit them and what their situation was, how long they've been homeless, where they consider their home to be. It's important to have the correct data so that we can access services from the state and from the federal government. There is the Hope Center that's going to be in Clear Lake is going to provide temporary housing with wraparound services. And the whole person funding that's coming from the state is going to be offering health, behavioral health, and social services to act as a preventative measure to get the homeless people back into homes and be productive members of our community.
Thank you.
To fight homelessness, we need housing at every level. Year-round homeless shelters, transitional housing with wraparound services, to permanent and affordable housing. We have to continue to strengthen the collaboration between all entities. Lake County, continuum of care committees, hospitals, social services, behavioral health, colleges, faith-based organization, nonprofit organizations, board of supervisors. It's going to take us all working together. These entities and institutions are doing similar work, and duplication of services need to be avoided by working together. Finally, we have to celebrate the efforts of Hope Rising for their facility that provides 20 beds and wraparound services, and a program to be united. A program needs to be updated in alignment with the state when gathering information during that PIT count so that HUD funds are made more available. Thank you.
Okay. Next question. Bill goes first on this. Lake County's area plans are sorely out of date. What is your vision for updating all the area plans and keeping them updated?
You know, I'm not sure how to do this because I've not been employed at the county level. I know that Lakeport went through this, updating their plan, and I didn't live in the city of Lakeport, so I couldn't be part of that. I don't know. It desperately has to be done. Who normally would do it, since I'm not in that area, I don't know, but it needs to be done. And whether, I hate forming committees, but if it takes something like that, an advisory board and to help out, I'd be more than willing to do something to have that happen, because it's pretty hard to run a city or a county without an updated plan to do so.
Thank you. Jessica?
Every supervisor can tell you this has been a huge priority of mine. updating the area plans is crucial so that we know how to grow and we have a plan and a roadmap. It also helps us acquire funding for infrastructure projects. So this is hugely important. Lower Lake Plan is the most out of date at 1988, and I'm applauding the supervisors. They have decided to start with that plan first, and they're putting the whole plan out to bid because community development simply doesn't have the time and resources to do that. And so this is how we systematically roll through our area plans. And going forward, we need to figure out how to update them as we go.
Thank you. Lily?
So, yeah, area plans are outdated and overdue. And we should look into the revision of how much of it should be completely rewritten or how much of it can be just updated to the 21st century. Also, I'd like to see a planning commissioner that maintains industry and businesses in the community growth boundary in order to maintain lands that have been conserved for agriculture, nature, and recreation use. Thank you.
Kevin?
Whenever we talk planning, I get a little nervous because I tend to think in the direction of the UN's Agenda 2030. I'd rather we stick to our guns of private property ownership. We stick to our guns of fixing the roads rather than trying to change them. I'd rather we stick to a lifestyle that isn't going to be so restrictive, and new plans always cost extra money, which means more taxes.
Okay. Are there any more questions from the public? Okay. Since the Valley Fire in 2015, what have you done to rebuild the community and make it ready when we have the next emergency? And this would be Jessica starting on this one.
This has been my life work for the past 4 years. We have formed the Cobb Area Council with the specific intent of long-term recovery. And long-term recovery is figuring out how to help an economy recover. The housing is depleted. I've been very focused on figuring out innovative ways to get houses rebuilt. The rebuilding cost is tremendously expensive. And what preventative programs can we form? And we twice a year, we have community meetings, Cobb Safe, Cobb Resilient, where we have forums on prescribed burning, home hardening, landscaping, insurance, anything that has to do with empowering a community to prepare for disaster. We've been on it, and I want to take those programs countywide.
Thank you. Lily?
I've been informing myself. Fortunately, I didn't have to go through the process, and my house didn't burn down. I have been evacuated, but as I inform myself, I see needs for improved communication in Spanish and English, and to continue the work that's happening. Thank you.
Kevin?
I lost my house in the Valley Fire of 2015 up on Gifford Springs Road. Since then, I moved over to Gulf Road, and I've been dealing with PG&E and the slow-moving process of vegetation management on their part for about 3 years solid. On top of that, I've raised my canopy and gotten rid of my fire ladder on my property on the 1 acre I have. There's things that the individual is responsible for, and there's things that the public utility is responsible for. There's parts that the county has been working on, I've noticed. They're handling what they're responsible for. A certain degree of vegetation management on the part of the homeowner is crucial.
Thank you. Bill?
I think we've gone a long ways. I think we believe how serious fires are now in our communities because we've come so close. We in Buckingham border the BLM property, which it has always been an issue for us as far as somebody taking care of it. Supervisor Brown has been very helpful in trying to get that responsibility shifted to them so we would get that property cleared up. But if that takes off and goes someplace, we're in trouble. And not only just Buckingham, but the Rivieras and everything else clear to Canocti. So I think education is a key thing, and I think the homeowners associations are key things for abatement. We've been very successful in Buckingham by doing that and working with the county in order to make sure that the responsibility is on the owners themselves. So I think we have a long way to go, but I think we've come a long way. So sorry. Sorry, Jackie.
Thank you. Okay. Would you be willing to introduce, pass, and implement a Second Amendment Sanctuary County resolution? And this would be Lily first.
I don't understand that.
We're talking about the Second Amendment on the Constitution
Yes,
at the federal level?
it is a federal level. They're asking, the question, the
Yes.
person is asking a question about county.
It's the Constitution. Thank you.
Kevin?
It's a little more complicated than that. Our state's gun laws are really restrictive. And if you look at what happened in Virginia, where various county supervisors teamed up with sheriffs to declare their counties 2A sanctuary counties, then the sheriffs began to deputize private citizens that were vetted into militias. Believe it or not, I'm 100% in support of something like that. And yeah, that's it, right then and there.
Bill?
Well, this very issue came up in the last couple of weeks with the sanctuary status of having to enforce in Lake County the sanctuary status of people that were in sanctuary areas such as San Francisco, and whether this county would ever become a sanctuary county. The sheriff said, if I have to enforce it, I have to enforce it. If it's a law in the state of California, it doesn't happen to be at this point. I'm not for a sanctuary status for anyone as far as that goes. I'm not that conservative, but I'm certainly not that liberal. So,
Jessica?
We are obligated to uphold the Constitution.
Okay. This person actually gave two questions, but I'm going to put them together because they're talking about the county creating, one, a public bank, and also public power system. So I think we'll say, what is your opinion of the county developing its own financial bank and creating its own power system? And for this, we go to Kevin first.
Rewind. Public bank? Public power company? Scary. No.
Okay. Bill?
well, we're not financially stable enough in this county to even look at an issue like that. That would certainly put us well under a rock. We don't need to be there. We need to be on top of that rock. So, no.
Jessica?
So I don't think that that's the place for county government, but if entities wanted to do that in Lake County in the private sector, I would encourage that.
Thank you. Lily?
This could be beneficial economically. we have to look into it, weigh all our options, and really see how it has improved other counties or not improved. I mean, we have to be creative about how we look at everything and do the research. It could be beneficial. Thank you.
Okay, the last question goes to Bill first, and I'll try and paraphrase. This is a concern in our ag industry, and the question is, what would you do to promote or encourage a more diverse ag crop so as to not have Lake County solely dependent on one specific crop for tax revenue that could be subject to a blight event that wipes it all out, leaving the county with no tax revenue from ag? The example given has to do with grapes.
Well, first of all, I don't think we're a one county, a one product county by any means. We had grapes, we had pears, I can remember kiwis, now it's cannabis. I grew up on a farm. I know how difficult it is to be a farmer. And it has to be financially stable, and then about every 5 years you make it on a farm. The rest of the time you don't. I remember pulling garden hose through the orchards when I first moved here to help a friend of mine that was in the pear business. So I don't think that's about to happen in this county, and I don't think it would be advisable to rely strictly on cannabis if that's the only thing that they're thinking about. But certainly not grapes. It's not going to be, the revenue's not going to be there.
Thank you. Jessica?
Our county has a rich history in agriculture, and we do have a diverse portfolio of crops. And supporting our farmers and keeping them in business is what we really need to do. We have grapes, we have walnuts, we have olives, we have pears, we have hemp. We have all kinds of micro farms coming up. We have the Small Farms Big Valley movement. And it's important. It's important to have agriculture as part of our economy. And supporting those farmers is what we do. We don't tell them what to grow.
Lily?
So that's a good question. Kelseyville has one of the only saffron farms in the nation right now. It's pretty cool. But also, the climate in Lake County is conducive for what we grow, and we need to support it. And yeah, we just need to support the agriculture in Lake County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Kevin?
There's no one crop specifically that we grow here. I mean, obviously, we grow a lot of pot. We're starting to grow some hemp. We've had vineyards here forever. We grow pears. I think what you need to do is kind of, once again, explore the role of government. And really, do we need to be telling farmers what to grow? That's going a little too far.
Thank you. All right, at this point, we'll go into our closing statements, and Jessica is the first with the closing statement. 2 minutes, please.
There is no doubt that all four of us love this county. This is a tight community, and we all know each other well. This isn't personal. We need the right person for the job, someone with experience, a proven track record, who knows the issues, is a collaborator who respects all points of view, and has the energy to go out every day and every night to fight for our county. This is a critical time for us, and I am stepping up to get this county and its enormous potential running on all cylinders. Whether it's fire protection or recovery, dealing with PG&E, balancing growth and our natural resources, or supporting our children and seniors, I know what we need to do. I have that proven track record. A vote for me is a vote for a bright future we all want and deserve, and I appreciate your support and your vote.
Lily?
Improving the county's workforce is a great start. We need more affordable housing countywide at every level. We need to find creative ways to increase revenues while avoiding duplicating services between agencies. I will use my communication skills across cultural boundaries to strengthen the bridges necessary to enhance the well-being of all Lake County residents. We need to strengthen current businesses and make it easier to open new businesses while protecting resources, people, and traditions of Lake County. We need to be ready for the 21st century because 20 years of it has already gone by. I want to see I want to see the county government move from reactive to proactive, from there isn't enough money to increasing the reserves, from the county government being a difficult place to work to a positive, maybe even a feel-good place to work, from short-term putting out the fires or issues as they come up to a long-term plan that incorporates the well-being, economic, social, health, and safety of Lake County and its people. Quiero trabajar para la gente que vive aquí. Quiero que tengan la voz y el respeto que se merecen. Quiero mejorar las oportunidades de la comunidad, las cuales incluyen el bienestar y la seguridad de toda la gente. I have a vision to unite community. Tengo una visión de unir la comunidad. Thank you.
Kevin.
Thank you for the opportunity for me to exercise my First Amendment right this evening with all of you. You know where I stand. I stick to my guns. I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you. Bill.
I have been in this county for 40 years. I'm probably the most experienced of everyone here that's running for this office to help tourism in this county. I started bass tournaments in 1994. That lake was absolutely empty all winter long after the ski season was over. I have experience on the Chamber of Commerce. I helped plant Florida strain black bass in this lake so they would grow faster so we could bring more tournaments here. I paid out of my own pocket to bring the first tournament here to Lake County. But not only that, I have the business experience too. I've been on the board of the board of the hospital, Cedar Lakeside. I've been on several other boards in the county. So I work with the community, I work for the community, and I work for you. And I ask you to vote for me with the citizens' voice of experience. Thank you.
I'd like a round of applause for all of our candidates. On behalf of the Lake County Chamber Board of Directors and our membership, we appreciate your attendance, and I'm sure the candidates will be around for a few minutes if you'd like to talk with them personally. Thank you all for attending and for your questions.